Hello and welcome to the MRO Show presented by Chadwell Supply. I'm your host, Adam Porter. Chadwell Supply is 100% dedicated to the multifamily industry. Your order is on our truck, delivered the next day. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com. One of the ways that Chadwell Supply is dedicated to the multifamily industry is that we want to work with our industry partners when they're doing renovations, property updates, unit refreshes. We want to help them find the best way to stay competitive in the market they're in. And to help find the best way to stay competitive, I want to welcome back my friend, Jermaine Weathersby, to the MRO Show. Jermaine, great to have you back.
Thank you again for having me back.
So, one of the things that you do well is you help your industry partners find ways to stay competitive, find ways to stay attractive in the market. But you also can't just be competitive. You've got to have that NOI and you've got to have the ROI to make the numbers work. So when you have somebody come to you and they say, you know, there's a lot of competition, we need to be bringing in more income, how do you help them approach that problem?
A lot of times I start with, well, one, making sure you're not giving out too many concessions, because when you start giving out concessions, you start losing out on what your real value is. And then figuring out what their value is. And if their value is at a certain cap spot of, hey, we can't get any higher, well, then how about we look at some renovations? That's what I normally gear towards.
So when you're talking about renovations, I know a lot of people have a lot of reasons for doing renovations. And multifamily communities might look at competition. They might look at the age of the property. They might look at responses they're getting from residents. Maybe the resident retention isn't what it ought to be. There's a lot of different reasons. There's also a lot of reasons why they might put off doing a renovation. The biggest one being, and correct me if I'm wrong here, tell me I'm lying if I'm lying, is the cost. The perception of what it's going to cost versus the value of the return. So how can you help a property who maybe they might not have a full CapEx renovation community upgrade in the budget this year? They got to do something. So what's one question they can ask to begin the process?
Well, I think the biggest thing they have to look at is the units turning. Units that haven't been turned, why haven't they been turned? How is it when someone moves out? What is that unit like, and how quickly can it get turned into being an open unit for someone else to move in? A lot of times when a vacant unit sits, it's literally month over month over month. You have to now start looking at your inventory saying, hey, if we got 5 or 6 of those, and because 6 becomes 10, 10 becomes 20, well, yeah, you didn't have the budget, but now look how much money you're losing because of those people who renovated across the street now have product X, Y, and Z, and now you don't. And guess what? I bet you wish you had invested a little bit more into those renovations. So then you say, okay, now we can move people in quickly.
How fast do properties need to really turn those units before that balance sheet starts to get a little ugly?
Well, it all is market specific. A lot of times, especially in areas, I know down in South Florida, turnover rate is quite high, but you know, we have some properties that are sitting at 100% occupied with 7-month waiting list. It's just overpopulated. But in a lot of other markets, it's not like that. And so you have to actually fight for a lot of the people that you want to come inside your property. You have to kind of show the value, and it's really pitching the value as to why this unit is better or what we have to offer. And so to answer your question, the turnaround, a lot of times what I hear is, how can we get this turned around tomorrow? You know, they're being a little facetious, but like, what is the quickest way of how to get from point A to point B? Because we need this unit yesterday.
As soon as possible is the answer to that question.
Yes.
I like it. So if we're thinking about potential resident experience or potential resident perception, because we know that perception is reality for folks, when they're looking at an opportunity to increase the likelihood that that resident is going to rent for them, what are some things that they can look at to maybe do some improving or begin asking questions about how we can get better?
I think the best way to look at how we can get better, the property, you have to look at internally, what are we offering, right? And a lot of times they do market surveys. So those market surveys, everyone knows when they're checking out their comps in the local area, but it's comparable as to what you're offering. You know, you wouldn't be a garden style going, oh, let me go look at what's in this high rise and then let me figure out if we're comparable to the. It's just two different markets. First, you have to figure out who your comps are, and every single property knows who their comps are normally. And when that's the case, then you notice, okay, here's what they have to offer. What do we have to offer? And then you jump ahead of that by saying, okay, here's where we think they may be going when they're going around to look, the people that we have coming in. Let's start highlighting some things that we have without talking bad about someone else. Let's start highlighting some of the things that we have that we know some of our other competitors don't have. Some of these other properties may not highlight, or we may have a better version of this. Hey, did you know we have a pickleball court? I know there's some places around here that have tennis ball courts, but we have a pickleball court.
Yeah.
It's just the way and how you spin what you're doing.
I gotcha. And so what are some ways to find out that you don't have what people are looking for?
Listening. A lot of times when you're doing that walkthrough, listening to what people are saying, because they'll tell you. they'll do the walkthrough, and in mid walkthrough they'll say, I wish this place had a window. Yeah, just like that other place. Yeah, that other place that had a window over here. Then you say, oh, were you looking at a place with windows? Are you looking for a place with more sunlight? Do you guys like to grow plants? Well, actually, we noticed this other place around the corner had this. They were facing this part of the window. Well, everyone's a little bit different. So as you're listening to what people are saying, then it's going to start gearing you towards, oh, well, we didn't have this type of countertop. Oh, we like the fact that they had this inside the unit. Oh, they have a walk-in closet for here. Oh, the floors are a little bit more renovated. It's just so many little things you have to listen to.
I love the fact that you covered two different kinds of listening in that one question.
Yeah.
Talking about what are those specific prospective renters looking for?
Right.
And can I give them what they're looking for in a different unit, maybe a different space,
Yep.
different floor, different part of the building? And you also talked about countertops or flooring or
Yes.
maybe this feature or that feature that you can do an upgrade or update to. What are some ways, what's some low-hanging fruit?
The easiest things that I always bring out to people: blinds, cabinets, baseboards, doors, doorknobs. We have so many great partners that we're partnering with that I always bring every time I walk into like, man, they really need some Pfister faucets in here. These faucets look nice, but those Pfister faucets look great. Just mentioning just the faucets, just so many little tiny pieces, the intangibles, I think that are really like low-hanging fruit.
Giving people what they didn't even realize they were looking for when they walked in the door.
Correct.
Because I know when I was looking for apartments back in the day, I would see 3 and 4 in a day. And it's real easy to compare when you were just at somebody else an hour ago.
Right.
And so when you have the opportunity to do a little bit of an update, you can. So let's talk a little bit about that. Because again, perception is reality.
Right.
And for a lot of folks out in multifamily, one of the perceptions is that renovations is too expensive. Renovation is going to hurt our bottom line.
Right.
It can be an investment. Does it have to be so much of an investment that it's not, that juice isn't worth the squeeze?
I think when you're looking at it, there's two ways that people always try to look at how they're spending, right? You could always look at fear of loss. So, okay, here's what I potentially could lose if we don't renovate these units. And then when we turn them, people could leave when we're not having our retention. Here's what we could possibly lose. Or what I like to do is, because I don't like to sell fear of loss, I say, well, here's what you have lost in the past couple of months. Here's where you are currently, and here's what you didn't do for not renovating. Here's the amount of money that you already missed out on. We can't make that up. We can't go back and change it. Here's where you are currently right now. Wouldn't you like to have that money back? Well, instead of not making that happen double time and go ahead in the future, how do we fix this going forward? Because now you know the problem. Now we see how much you've actually lost. What can we do going forward?
We are fresh out of time machines. We can't go back and change it.
Absolutely.
But there is opportunity.
Right.
And so let's kind of do a little role play.
Okay.
Let's say that I'm the property owner and I've got a few different properties.
Yep.
And I have one that seems to be doing pretty well. Residents are happy. Retention is good.
Boom.
Not really having an issue. But across town, they just built new.
Oof.
Next block over. And we're struggling. We're losing folks. And it's tight. Budget is tight. What can I do, Jermaine, to at least not lose any more ground to the guys up the street who are brand new?
Even if you don't have, let's say, a large budget to start doing indoor renovations, right? You have to start looking at your outdoor amenities. What about our dog trash areas? Because everyone has pets nowadays, and pets are super important. What about those pet areas? Do you have trash bags that are available on your walkthrough to where, someone walks in and says, again, we talked about the small intangible things. Oh, look at that dog trail. Oh, look, on that dog trail, they have 3 of those little stands where I can pick up the dog trash and also throw it away. And it also comes with making sure, our maintenance staff is also making sure that there's no trash on the floor and, poop when they're walking anyway. Mm-hmm. But it also gives the residents a chance to say, hey, here's them investing into us and going forward in the future of here's where they want to be, here's where they are now. Let's make this like an easy transition.
And it's something simple and practical. I know we had some of the new puppy glove samples in here laying on this conference table last week. And we're putting them together, making sure everything in the box is what it looked like on the outside and making sure the instructions match. So before they go to the warehouses to get out to the customers,
so simple.
They look what they're supposed to be. And I thought, I love it. I said, here's the bag. Here's the trash. Put the bag in. So I don't have to carry it around. Because when my wife and I have a golden retriever and he leaves a mess. He's a big boy. We always end up, throwing rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to have to carry that bag all the way back to our trash can. But if it's there for me and it's in good condition, it's not something I have to think about. It's not something I have to worry about. You just made my day that much better by something very simple.
That much easier, that much faster, but it's also an investment on our side because, again, it's not a whole CapEx. We're not renovating the whole unit, but it's something small that we did on our end to show value for our residents that are living here.
So you talked a little bit about exterior amenities and some other things, and I like the dog areas. What's something else that's really attractive that can make a big difference for a prospective resident?
I think lighting. Lighting is huge, right? So especially when you walk into units, because we do a lot of walkthroughs now, a lot of people look at the lighting, and if you have the lighting, well, what we call old school lighting, a lot of our newer residents walk in there and go, "Oh, this place is dated." They haven't done anything but look up.
Right.
They haven't looked down. You can have brand new floors. You can have brand new baseboards. You can have brand new cabinets. They've looked up and looked at the lighting and said, "Oh, this place is dated."
Brand new floors, brand new trim, brand new appliances, maybe, but perception is reality, Jermaine.
But they see those lights and they see something they didn't expect to see, but the trend around the area, and again, looking at trends is important, but they look around the trend in the area and they see something you guys have and they go, no, this is a dated unit. I can see you guys haven't upgraded this unit in a long time. A lot of times it's light.
I love, too, talking about lighting. It can be simple, too, and if you have your sales out there and you want to work with a property, we've got those low profile Lumera lights. They're color select. You can buy a case of them, put them in different rooms, do the temperature setting in different places based on what makes that room more attractive. Now you've saved a little bit of money because you've bought in bulk. You've bought a product that looks new, it looks stylish, matches your other stuff, right temperature in every room. Kind of a set it and forget it, easy way to put a benefit in there.
And when they walk in, they feel welcomed.
That's huge. What are some other ways to make it feel like home when they're walking in for that first time? They've been to 3 other places. Mom already has a favorite. Dad may already have a favorite. The kids definitely have a favorite. Who wins? How do you win that battle?
I think also when you brought up even just now appliances, I think appliances are super important when you're looking at a unit because a lot of times that's what we're going to use the most. So we're going to use door handles, which is great. We're going to use faucets, which is great, but we don't look at those and say, oh, well, I'm not going to buy a unit because of the door handle or the faucet. But you may look at a unit and say, well, I don't really like the refrigerator. That stove top is a little messed up. Oh, I don't like the way that they had that microwave on top of the stuff. Whatever the case may be, the washer and dryer. Those large appliances a lot of times, that makes or breaks a lot of deals.
And talking about dated too, that person may not be reading any fashion magazines, home interior design magazines, but they know dated when they see dated. And walk in there and they see something that's on trend. They're filing that in the back of their mind. These folks, it's been updated at some point here recently.
And also toilets. Toilets are a huge thing because people walk into their bathrooms and if they see an older toilet, they're like, well, I think there was a stat, and I'm not going to pull the numbers, but there was a statistic about how much time we spend on the toilet. Don't need the statistic, but just know we spend a lot of time on the toilet.
It's a reality we all face.
It's a reality we all face. So that statistic just goes to show a lot of times they're bringing in their own bed, but they're not bringing in their own toilet. Making sure you have updated things like that.
I know for me, and I don't think this is just me, might be just me, so disclaimer here, but I walk into a bathroom and I see an older toilet, I worry a little bit about the plumbing. Now, it's because I've set a few toilets, and I think, How's that wax ring doing?
Yep.
Am I going to have a leak?
Yep.
Nobody wants to deal with a toilet leak. So if I see that little bit of age on
Right,
that toilet,
right.
I'm thinking, ooh, man, that's going to be a problem at some point.
Even as you're moving the hinges, if it starts doing, you're like, nah, I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
And it's something that's a simple thing. We talked at a previous conversation you and I had about attention to detail, being observant.
Mm-hmm.
So you're out there, you're a member of a maintenance team, you're a leasing agent, you're walking a property, thinking about a renovation. If you're a Chadwell Supply sales manager and you're working with that industry partner, walking through there, look at some of those things that you've been mentioning.
Always.
And look for some other opportunities to make an update. It's not going to break the bank.
Right.
So, and there's a few different things. Sometimes it's just a little fresh coat of paint.
Oh, listen. Paint job will change everything. I tell you, a paint job changes a car, and you think that you'll see a brand new car looking like that, but imagine what it does on the inside of a unit. Night and day difference.
It does. It's no scuffs. It feels fresh.
Yeah.
It feels bright in there. Swapping out outlet covers, plates.
I do that all the time. So the trend for a while was to have those outlet covers that had the little case over the front.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my little girl, now I have a 2-year-old, well, I can't tell you how valuable it is to have the outlet that has the little case over the top, just because it just makes my life 20 times easier. And I go, I could just imagine if I walked in somewhere and they had them, I would go, oh, well, I don't have to switch them out. I already got it.
Peace of mind. I love it. And those are the types of things that if you're listening, if you're paying attention, if Jermaine is out there looking for an apartment, you have your little one, you're thinking about her and her comfort and her safety. What are some ways that a property can think about those things, comfort and safety, from a standpoint of an update? We're not talking about a big CapEx change here, not a big transformation inside a unit or just the area around a unit. What are some ways we can think about safety and comfort that's going to get some yeses?
I think always having the parts necessary on site. A lot of times we have amazing maintenance staffs who get overlooked, and they shouldn't. And they work so hard at keeping the property together, but they need new tools. You can't do a job if you don't have the right tools. They don't have the right parts to maybe fix some of the work orders they may be getting. When they have the right tools, the right parts, they can have the upkeep of an actual property look so amazing. And when they're given the right tools to be successful, and as a property says, hey, look, we're going to give you the right tools to be successful, it just makes a night and day difference.
So you're talking about an upgraded turn. So that's kind of a bridge term for a lot of folks who are considering a renovation, not really in the budget right now. You can do a bit of an upgraded turn. So we're going to turn this unit. We can do a little bit of an update, but let's help the guy doing the work out there. And I know we just had a new line of Klein tools that hit, and I got super excited because I'm a tools. I won't say, yes, I will. I was about to say, I know you want to say it. I'm a tool snob. I am. And it's because, we all get sorted into different houses when we start in any kind of work, and you pick a brand that you love. If you've done it for a while, you know what you can depend on.
Yep, you know what you
like.
like.
For me, for hand tools, when I'm doing electrical, I love me some Klein.
Yep.
When I found out we were getting a whole line of Klein hand tools, and it's not just that 11-in-1 is pretty sweet.
Right.
I love that thing. The ratcheting 11-in-1 is pretty sweet, but it's also crescent wrenches, and we have some adjustable wrenches, and then there's some meters as well that we've got, and these things are new. I know that tool is not going to let me down. And if I have a property owner or manager who's looking out for me, and we have an opportunity to pick up and upgrade a little bit of tools, I know I'm going to be doing a better job. And here's the key to, and this is just being real. Let's be real a minute. I'm going to be in a better mood because they've invested a little bit in making my day a little bit better. And we say that at Chadwell Supply all the time. We're here to help you make your day a little bit better.
Absolutely.
These property teams invest a little bit in their maintenance guys, because you said these are hardworking people out there.
Hardworking.
There's not a single maintenance person out there that I know of that's ever had a shortage of stuff to do. Especially, they're always getting the emergency calls on top of the regular things. So life is busy, is what we're saying.
Right.
How can we make it easier? So we talked about small upgrades, whether it's outlet covers, or you're talking about appliances, which is a bigger ticket item, but it makes a big difference. Talked about maybe the new toilet, new fixtures, upgrading a little bit, changing doorknobs. Let's talk a little bit about exterior safety. People are walking around, they're going to a unit. Every property team on their property knows where not to take a prospective resident on their property.
Always.
So when you're thinking about those areas, what are some steps that we can take to make sure those areas, if they decide to do their own ride around, because I know when I was looking, I rode around before I went to the leasing office.
Right.
I went to the places they don't want you to go.
A lot of times you do.
Yeah. So how can we keep our eyes open and pay attention and make some small changes that make a big difference?
I think having the wherewithal to say, okay, if I'm going to ride around this property, again, we talk about taking initiative, right? So you may see something that you're noticing on site and you want to change, or you may see something that you want to say something to somebody, but again, maybe you have a long list of work orders and you're like, I want to get around to it.
Mm-hmm.
But then realizing that curb appeal is going to change how many work orders you're going to get. Because guess what? The people that are coming in are going to see this and say, oh, well, my place also has this. This place is running down. This place is running in shambles.
Yeah.
People are looking for reasons to complain. And so
that's facts.
We have to get it. We have to not give them reasons to complain.
Yeah.
And so as we're taking care of as much as the grounds as we can, as we're taking care of having the tools to take care of the grounds, but also making sure that we're taking care of our property from the outside, it just makes the residents, even when they're doing their walkthrough, right? I remember when I went through one of my first walkthroughs when I ever first got into multifamily, I didn't even know there was a path that you had to take, right? So I was brand new. And so I did the walkthrough about 3 or 4 times with the person as I'm learning. And I thought to myself, why do we keep walking the same path? And I came back to the manager. I was fresh. I had a brand new question. I said, why do we keep walking the same path? It's, oh, well, that's a controlled path. We know everything. We know all the residents you're going to see on that path. It could change here and there, but we know all the residents you're going to see on that path. We know how it looks on that path. We keep this path pristine, clean. It still shows you all of our amenities. You walk straight past the dog park. You can see the playground from far away, and it keeps you from it's just so much more on the back end to just be thoughtful before you actually start. I think it's very helpful.
So we want to underscore a couple of things. We know that everybody's going to do that because that's smart. It's smart to take them past all the amenities, the shortest route possible, the route that you know that you can control. Control all the vectors and variables you can control.
Always.
Having said that, there's always going to be people out there that do their own homework. And you want to make sure that you're prepped for those folks too, because they're the ones that are asking the questions.
Yes.
They may be the ones that never tell you why they say no or why they go someplace else. But you can figure out ahead of time, like you said, you walk the areas that are not on the route.
Yep.
Do a little updating there. What are some other ways? And again, this is all falling under the umbrella of renovations, but it's a different way to think about renovations.
Always.
What are some ways that a team can invest in their property to upgrade it a little bit and raise their stock in the eyes and the perception of the competition?
I think one of the things that they can do the most, especially when it comes to just properties in general, listen to the reviews of the people. I think the reviews of the people will teach you a lot about what a property is doing and how they respond. People live by reviews nowadays. People will go on Google to say, hey, where's the closest pizza shop around me?
Sure. And
they won't click on page 6. They're going to start at page 1 and then scroll down 4 or 5 different places, maybe pick one out of there, right? That being the case, when people type in your property, what are they going to do? They're going to read the reviews.
And those reviews are gospel. Nobody ever fudges anything on those reviews. It's 100% true all the time. We know this.
Right. Yeah. But they're not gonna scroll around and go down to page 6 of reviews.
No.
They're gonna start at the most liked review, the most recent review right at the top, whether you responded or not, whether it's good or bad. The first thing you're gonna do is read it. And so responding to some of those reviews, I think, is super important. Just an example, there was one where there was just a bunch of trash that was left outside the trash receptacle, right? And they have a large trash can, the property did, and everyone would bring the trash there. But because there were so many people bringing trash, a lot of times, almost every single week, they would just have trash bags hanging everywhere. Because once it gets full, you just fall over the top, and everyone just throws the trash, and so it became really ugly. And people used to take pictures and post it in the reviews. And the property, at some point, said, "Well, we need to change it." So they saw what was happening. They made a change. And then they also start responding. Hey, we're so sorry about that. We're actually implementing this going forward. Here's an updated picture of what it looks like. Please come by if you need something. And just that response there, tremendous difference in retention.
Well, sure, because you're talking about you're taking somebody's criticism to heart.
Yeah.
You're being honest about the situation. And then you're taking initiative, taking action. I love that. And it's a simple process.
Simple.
Say, we're listening to what people are saying. We're responding in that way. And so that really is about perception is reality.
Yep.
We talked about that several times in this conversation. Some property owners, property teams perceive renovation as this huge, big thing that they'll get to one of these days. Meanwhile, you're sharing all these different ideas for how we can take a little bit of initiative, change a few things every time we turn a unit, and then turn around and create a different perception or a much better perception for our prospective residents. And since we haven't talked about this, our current residents who see what's going on in the community.
Yep.
And they're going to want to say, I'm going to stick around here. These people care. They're taking initiative. They're changing things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that we can do as we're closing out here to create those kinds of conversations with the residents that you have already to get them to sign up again, to go ahead and retain those folks?
So one thing I think when you're looking at it, especially, and it's a double-edged sword a lot of times when people look at, right? So they say, well, I love the fact that you're in your unit, and I want to renovate your unit, but you're living there. So how can I renovate your unit when you're living there? And one, they don't want you to get out because, again, they don't want you to just leave. They love the fact you got your lease. You love where you're living at. You love your unit. And so it's a double-edged sword, right? How do I get around this? Well, again, I always say start with the actual conversation, right? Hey, just so you know, we've upgraded the blinds in your area. We've done 7 or 8 blinds in this floor. We would love to do yours. Do you mind if we can come in one of these days and do the blinds? We'll set up a work day, work ticket. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's a date. Here's his plan. Having that conversation, starting off slow. Having that conversation about here's what we're doing across the board for all our whole portfolio. Here's our plans. They don't need to see the whole floor plans. They don't need to see what paint you're going to and how. Because again, they're going to say, well, I want that brand new unit. How about you move? Right. Which you may not want that person moving in a brand new unit. But having that conversation just initially about also upgrading the people that are currently living there, or telling them what's going on when you have a chance to talk to them for sometimes a few interactions. When you're having those conversations, I've seen it to where it worked out well.
So investing the time to have conversations, keep that line of communication open with your current residents, taking the time to walk the property, look for ways to make small improvements to make a big difference in the perception of your prospective residents, and then investing in the guys turning the wrenches and doing the work.
Always invest in those guys.
Those are 3 simple ways that people can do a unit upgrade, a property refresh, and get a ton of NOI from a limited budget. Jermaine, thank you so much for your insight. I really appreciate you giving us some wisdom again on the MRO show.
Anytime.
Well, I'm going to take you at that word now. You'll be back.
I'll be back.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the MRO show presented by Chadwell Supply. If you appreciated the episode and you got some value from it, please rate us 5 stars at your favorite podcast service. And for more MRO show, check out chadwellsupply.com/podcast.